What's good, Sports Jedi Nation? This is BX Sports Jedi Kev, your host, and you're locked into the Sports Jedi Network, where real fans will bring real reactions. Today, we're going to break down everything, our live takes from the role of professional wrestling, smart analysts, no filter, no corporate spin, and whether it's a big match, breaking down wrestling news, your exclusive interviews. This is the place to be. That's why we ask you to like, share, subscribe. Join us, follow us on Discord, on our X platforms, or anywhere you find us on our social medias. Today, we're proudly sponsored by Dude Wipes. Dude Wipes, staying fresh, staying clean, and staying match ready. All right, let's lock in. So don't forget, once again, hit that like button, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. So whenever we do all our different activities on the Sports Jedi Network, you are informed and ready to lock and load. So again, let's get right into it. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to talk a little bit first on Monday Night Raw. I know it's a couple days, but I wanted to give my thoughts. I know we do a weekly wrestling review with myself and PGA Chris over the weekends, but sometimes the news moves so quickly, so fast, and we want to make sure that we put in more content with recaps and or give us our fan analysis on what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. So we stay with the times. We don't want to be turn the page old news. We want to make sure we stay relevant and fresh, of course, and keeping you fresh like a Dude Wipes. So let's go right into it. Let's talk about some Monday Night Raw, what the positives, what the takes out of it. I'm going to start with the main event or the big picture when it came to Gunther and AJ Styles. Everyone, whether they don't agree or disagree or they didn't like the way John Cena tapped out and ended his brilliant wrestling career, well, the story now is focusing on Gunther. Now, Gunther is this larger than life persona that, it's gloating. We all know the story. He's going around gloating that he made John Cena tap like a bitch. And now AJ Styles is stepping up, one of the old guards, one of those guys in that era, to see a fellow competitor, whether it was when he was in TNA in the X division, being that face of that company, coming over to WWE while John Cena was on the rise, kind of parallel careers, stepping into in Gunther's face. You see throughout the whole Monday Night Raw from Dusseldorf, Germany, they kept that trend going where AJ Styles really made me grab and believe that he was going to make Gunther tap. Now, we saw the course of the match where the referee, good job on the way, the angles of the referee, where he did not see the Gunther tapping on the hiney of AJ Styles. AJ Styles relinquished the hold. The referee goes to tell the ring announcer. I know people had a lot of questions on why is the referee running to the ring announcer, turning his back. Well, that's a way for the Gunther to get the low blow onto AJ Styles, but also letting the crowd in Dusseldorf know what's going on. And they placated just for the television audience, and we know what's going on, why he's turning and so forth, but the crowd doesn't know what's going on in that moment. And they try, and Alicia Taylor getting on the mic, it's on the match continues. You could hear Rob Zapata, the referee, say the match continues. Then I like the fact that he gives him the low blow where he gets the power bomb into the pin for the victory. Well, that continues the feud. AJ Styles wasn't just completely power bomb, cleanly pinned, or easily submitted, because now you could have that open to interpretation of a run back of a match, or they could continue the extension of the feud here. Now, we don't know that when is AJ Styles' final match for the WWE before he hangs it up. I don't think it's going to be a December run for AJ Styles. Maybe a WrestleMania, according to some rumors. Maybe a Backlash. Don't know. For the Phenomenal One, we'll find out when his story-ending career comes to a close. But for Gunther, he continues to be that obstacle, that larger-than-life persona, whether you like him or don't like him. You're not supposed to like him. You're supposed to dislike him and hate everything he stands for, or the way he gets his victories, has done it. In a world where we want to cheer the heels and call the babyface vanilla, bland, boring. And right now, Gunther's doing what the heel is supposed to do, taking you back to those nostalgic feelings of not liking the heel. You're never supposed to like the heel. You wasn't supposed to never enjoy and love the Iron Sheik, regardless was disliked. And he was disliked for many different reasons because he was the heel. And he kept that persona, never changed, never chased the hug, in my opinion. And that's what Gunther's doing. Let's not listen, the classics always works. No matter what, done right, done correctly, the classic works. And I think Gunther's doing the classic heel, in my opinion. I enjoyed it. So we'll see, where that goes there. This one really interests me. Of course, it was that set up. Monday Night Raw, I thought, for me, was being set up with a lot of Judgment Day storyline, and it had levels and technicals. It all interacted, especially with when we had the newly crowned women tag team champions come out in Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, and then we had all the interruptions for all the various tag teams from Lyra Valkyria with Bayley, the Kabuki Warriors, Liv and Roxanne. It led to that triple threat number one contenders, because now that's bringing the Judgment Day. I thought Monday Night Raw had a lot of Judgment Day storylines that interacted with all different, and now we see them in the women's tag team storyline. Then in the backstage promo, if you recall, where Liv and Roxanne interrupts Finn Balor, who's playing video games, playing the 2K 26 or 25 edition. I'm not into video games, so I wouldn't tell you which one was it. Playing himself as his character, and you see that exchange where you're doing nothing. Pretty much call him lazy. Raquel, we're going to talk about after this, going after Stephanie. Then, of course, you see she's getting a women's title match. You're seeing the ladies getting a women's tag team. They win the qualifier. They will go to Saturday night's main event, and off we go. Now we see Finn Balor says, okay, I got something up my sleeve. Something that was very intriguing when CM Punk came out, because we knew Braun Breaker, Pierce tells Heyman wants to see Braun Breaker. We knew they're not going to rush to run back Punk and Braun. So I wanted to see what was the sandwich in between. I was hoping they would, and I'm thankful. Please don't give him Austin Theory. You're trying to establish Austin Theory, and if you give Punk Theory, he's not going to take over. And then Theory's character, where a lot of people are already not liking it too much, he hasn't not given me anything to dislike. Or he hasn't really done anything to really get excited and start waving pom-poms. He's right now neutral or flat when it comes to Theory, but I want to stay with what happened here with Punk being confronted by Finn Balor. Finn Balor comes out. I love the promo that they had back and forth, a little reference to Prince Devon. Let's find out what happens here in Belfast, Ireland. Like that he apologized to the crowd. Punk wanted to work. He wanted to wrestle. Of course, chicken shit or heel 101. Again, nothing wrong with the classics. We're not giving, Balor's not giving it to Dusseldorf, Germany, because let's face it, Punk has a lot of rap, I'm paraphrasing, like a lucky rabbit's foot up his ass. He returns in Chicago for Elimination Chamber. Prior to that, if you saw him in AEW, he returned for that Rampage in Chicago. A lot of good things happen in his home turf for Chicago. He's going to leave it to Ireland, Belfast, next Monday, or this upcoming Monday, for Monday Night Raw, Monday afternoon Raw. And I really enjoyed it. I remember when Finn interrupted, I said, you know what? I do the watch alongs. You could please check out our watch alongs here on the Sports Jedi Network. We do all Monday Night Raws watch alongs, or the NXT, or now we're in AEW Dynamite, the home unofficial podcast of TNA Impact Wrestling. Yes, you see all the interviews, all this stuff with TNA. We are very heavy centric TNA, not just fly by nights like a lot of these people we're going to see starting Thursday. Welcome aboard, but I hope TNA remembers who's been with them through the dark times and rising up to the ashes, those people that been waving that TNA flag. So get back onto Monday Night Raw here and what we do with the watch-alongs. I remember saying that'll be an interesting matchup to see those two go at it. You know what? Maybe there's, chemistry. We know Finn Balor, 42 years old. We know where Punk's age. Interesting to see those two now locking in. They're going to put on a professional classic match, storytelling driven. When that lock up, I was very intrigued. And then when he mentioned for Belfast, Ireland, I was like, I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to go on a minor prediction. I know Drew McIntyre just won the Undisputed World title from Cody Rhodes, and it feels like an injection of just a different type of philosophy of views. Not that Cody was not bringing in money or viewerships to WWE's PLEs. Friday Night SmackDown on the Cody Rhodes watch or championship hasn't been so great. Maybe we needed a new, Cody to chase. I think people I have been saying it at the time to chase, and in this case here, will or should the WWE dare enough to make a title change in Belfast, Ireland? That's what I was trying to get to in my head, and I go, you know what? I'm going to go on a limb. I think Finn Balor wins the heavyweight title, the world heavyweight title from CM Punk in Ireland. I think the money chase, maybe he could win it back at the Rumble in Riyadh, or remember, Elimination Chamber will be in Chicago this year. I don't know what WWE wants to think or what will be a largely pop. CM Punk winning the world heavyweight title in Chicago, winning the Elimination Chamber, or walking in front of Chicago in his home and being announced as the world heavyweight champion to a title defense. Interesting to see which way WWE wants to see, which way they want to present Punk to Chicago, and what will make more money. What will be different? What will be fresh with Chicagoans? I'm asking this to you guys. You could put the comment in the chat or on our social media. How would you like CM Punk to enter Chicago as Elimination Chamber? As a participant in the chamber, defending the World Heavyweight Champion, or opportunity to win the World Heavyweight Champion in front of you in Chicago? So that's a good question for just really Chicago natives or Punk enthusiasts. I think personally will be a lovely story to see Finn Balor win that there. I think will get really kind of energetic for the fans in Ireland to see that, and something different where WWE is going to keep you on your toes, keep the dirt sheets from spoiling or what I mean spoiling, giving the WrestleMania script or what's planned, and then you're kind of like, they could always get to what they have planned in WrestleMania. There's plenty of time to tell these stories and title change. They were not afraid to do a title change last year with the women's world title and made it a triple threat. Remember, Io Sky won that title or lost that title and then won it, what they did last year with Rhea and all that good stuff. Wouldn't mind seeing something like that here with Finn Balor. I'm intrigued. That match to me, and by the way, great way of setting the table to make interest and buzz to want to watch Monday afternoon Raw. So good job there for WWE. Where, listen, let's face it, that Stranger Things in the Barclays Center wasn't the greatest. I don't think I will watch that again. That episode, I thought, the entrance was the best part, and then it just didn't hit. It was just stuck on neutral, didn't really do anything. I want to talk about stories when it comes to the Judgment Day. This was telling more stories with Stephanie Vaquer being attacked by the birthday girl, Raquel Rodriguez. It showed me that she's taking that level of heel, borrowing a little bit from Big Daddy Cool, Diesel, adding into her character, her flavor, breathing on the neck of Stephanie Vaquer. I think I've been saying this time and time again with Stephanie Vaquer. I'm starting to not care too much about her due to the fact that no one had a heel to breathe down her throat as a legitimate threat. Is Stephanie Vaquer losing to Raquel Rodriguez? I don't think so, but I like the fact that she's now a credible heel that's breathing and showing adversity to Stephanie Vaquer, hurting her ankle, hurting and causing the physical damage where it's in question. Is she that hurt where she might have to drop the title due to the fact that she might need to recover time away from the ring? And you give a short run for Raquel, and Vaquer could get her title back at WrestleMania. And I don't know if they're going to go that route, but that's a question that's on the table to really consider. So that's a good obstacle for Stephanie Vaquer. Look, she got back. She went to NXT, won 2 titles, both of the women's title NXT, vacated one, dropped one, and made JC Jane, came up to the main roster, won the Women Evolution Battle Royal, number 1 contender, really didn't see too much traction. We happened to Naomi. She wins that. She gives up the title due to birth. She gets in there. She wins that title, and okay, she's been all right. Nothing to write home about. Nikki Bella was one of her first feuds, which, by the way, Nikki Bella's taking some time off. Reports has it that she's going to take a little time off returning, have some scheduled time off for Nikki Bella. Just tells me I don't think she wants to go to Saudi Arabia for the Rumble. I mean, in a way, maybe we might see her. Maybe after the Rumble, she might disappear. But it may, but I would probably see her right before WrestleMania season do something somewhat for Nikki Bella. Half of the audience probably are throwing a cheer party, happy to not to see her. I think Nikki Bella still works here in the heel presentation. I commend her to coming back and work at her lapse of time off, and at her age, she's not doing a bad job. There's other talented women in the roster. Absolutely, I agree. But it's here or there for Nikki Bella. But for Stephanie Becerra, she has an obstacle breathing on her neck, which I really enjoy and I like to see. She needed that. She really needed that. And for her, that's a good option for her. The Usos. Now, we had Jey Uso come out, cut a promo, pretty much putting tag teams on notice. Jimmy was not with Jay, and Jay gets a backstage where Otis and Tozawa wants a piece of the tag teams. Is this a filler? It could be. Listen, all of this, look, I believe for this WrestleMania, there's going to be, I think it's a 25-year anniversary, if I'm not mistaken, or correct me if I'm wrong, for TLC at WrestleMania. This will be a perfect opportunity in a ladder match where you could have, hopefully, fingers crossed, the Usos still tag team champions. The Motor City Machine Guns, which they're going to work Mexico for this Saturday upcoming in AAA. Good to see the Motor City Machine Guns getting at least some bumps and some television time, even on AAA Mexico. Maybe they'll go up against the Psycho Clown or a combination of someone with Mr. Iguana teaming up with someone over there, Laredo Kid or Octagon, and I can see those guys work. I don't know what's the match. They haven't announced the match. I know they're working over there. So it's going to be good regardless. Machine Guns, tag team action. Who doesn't want to see Sabin and Shelley work personally? But for WrestleMania, I would love to see the Usos, the Guns, the New Day, the Hardys. Maybe you want to add a fifth team. Maybe 4 is just good enough. And 5th will be a little too much. Okay, if you want to add a 5th one, Street Profits. Then household tag team names for the WWE, although we could argue about the Machine Guns, but they weren't. But with this partnership with TNA, the Hardys, Machine Guns, and that ladder match, you could add that TLC. You could add that TLC, a callback to that match, of course, and pretty much that's like a love song for the Hardys. They had their callback at Bound for Glory with the Dudleys. I know we're not getting no Edge and Christian, but maybe this is something in the WWE television for WrestleMania, a TLC match. We'll love to see that. And also with the women's tag team, I wouldn't be surprised if we see this. Also a first time ever women's TLC match with the tag team. With the way they're revamping the women's tag team division here in the last few months for the WWE, put in mind, because you got to have something for all these different ladies. I know they're going to have their world title pictured with Stephanie Becerra. Taking on whoever's the number one contender, Jade and Bianca. Everyone wants to see that. Maybe that's something if Bianca's fully healthy by then for WrestleMania, or even Jordan Grace versus Jade Cargill. Don't know if that's something that intrigues the wrestling world. I just hope it's not on a random Friday Night SmackDown. The Friday Night SmackDown before, or I would like them to build it with the right storyline for WrestleMania for Jordan Grace. But we'll see where that goes. I think they will have the first ever women's tables, ladders, and chairs at WrestleMania. When I see what's the end game with all these tag teams? That's a way of getting even Charlotte, Alexa Bliss. Listen to the names in this list. Io, Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax, Lash Legend, Asuka, Kairi Sane. Even Bailey with Lyra. Those are heavy hitting names there. You put all those women, and I believe if you want to add another team, but you put on a TLC, you could even make it for the titles, and my goodness, those ladies could work, and you could make nice callback for the TLC anniversary. Remember, they did 2. You can have the men's one night, the women's on the second, or if you want to do them both, it's up to the creative to put that card when they want to put those 2. But I wouldn't mind seeing the men and women's TLC. It gets more people on the WrestleMania card, and they and all the top names are in those good matches. I mean, my goodness, the buzz and the enthusiasm to see that. That'll be great coming out here. Hopefully, that's what these women's tag team division is ramping up as a really nice caveat to the end game for WrestleMania going forward, and really put women's tag team wrestling on the WWE staple map. We'll see how that goes. Javon Evans took on Bravo Americano in a really good match for Javon Evans, his first international match out in Europe, actually. And he was very excited. He brings such an energy to Raw. There was footage of him on a house show taking a photographer's camera, taking pictures of himself, taking pictures of the crowd. He's just that guy, man. If you see him on NXT, if you interact with him, of course, I have the privilege to have gone to the Performance Center, living in Orlando many times, watching Javon Evans, even when his house show out here in Orlando, in Sanford, seeing Javon working those house shows before he became a super household name. Just a really good kid, man. Humble, exciting, that's what Javon Evans, he brings that energy. And I'm glad that he's going to get to see that on Monday Night Raw, giving that energy. I know a lot of people might have wanted to see him as NXT champion or hold the singles gold. That's coming for Javon. This experience that he's getting on the main roster and becoming a global household name, I think he if he looks back at his career, he's going to say, yeah, that was the right timing. I know Javon has it, and hopefully they continue to progress and tell him the right stories. I know people have concern about his move sets, his finisher. He's young right now. But as he gets older and he starts being wiser, he's going to find his proper finish as he gets older, and he'll be fine. I think Javon Evans will be fine. Right now, let's enjoy him doing that bouncy cutter, the OG cutter from, oh my God, the height he gets on that. He hit Bravo Americano, I know. The only thing I was a little concerned was when Javon came out and when you were going to put him against the Americanos. And I was like, all right, if they're going to come out with the Americanos, I would like for Kaiser or the Grande Americano character not to really be there, because we all know who's that under the mask, and we know he's German descent. That was a little bit of my concern, but Javon still managed to get the pop, the love of the crowd, the roar of the crowd, despite a pro Kaiser, and pro Grande Americano gimmick-wise. They were cheering his household countrymen there, but Javon still made it work, which was, they got the best of both worlds in a weird way, in my opinion. But for me, great to see Javon gets that huge international pop. And for the Americano gimmick, it's a great gimmick. It's so over in AAA Mexico. It hasn't really translated to WWE television in North American side in the United States. I don't know reason why. I don't know why, but if you watch AAA, which they're going to be on Tubi Fox on 9:00 Saturday, you'll see how greatly enamored and loved is El Grande Americano, from his promo in Spanish, fully Spanish immersed promo, even singing songs in Spanish coming down the aisle. I mean, he's a spectacle on AAA. I don't know. I'm surprised it really hasn't really kicked into full gear in the United States. Maybe if Gable returns under the mask for mask, maybe that's where Grande Americano gets more appreciative. I don't know. Well, maybe it will never translate in the main roster in the United States. I wonder what's the end game there. Now, the whole Adam Pearce situation. We've seen Braun Breaker. Pearce tells Heyman, wants to talk to Braun, knows that Braun is a Steiner hothead. Game knows game, because Adam Pearce seems to be a little bit of a hothead general manager, or flying off his cuffs. It's interesting for a man who does that, who looks for USA. His Twitter post loves someone. No, I mean, that's his personal life. I'm just trying to be a wise ass with his persona as a Raw general manager. For Adam Pearce and Paul Heyman, that dynamic of back and forth, trying to make sure get to Braun Breaker before anything happens. But my God, you get that tag team match, Penta, Dragon Lee teaming up against Big Bronson Reed and Austin Theory. Match was to showcase Braun Breaker's unhinging. Braun is not going to take it well, and he showed it, losing to CM Punk. He was hell-bent. This is a kid who's being told he's the next big thing, the future. He's the future of the industry. He pretty much took a chance in taking out Seth Rollins storyline-wise to just jump ahead of the curve and become, be the top food chain of the division, wanting to take out Punk and make it about the youth movement. And he right now just didn't win that match at that moment. He's pissed. He's unhinged. That flying that flying spear that he did on Dragon Lee from the drone shot, phenomenal. Great footage. Like, oh damn. I know people say with Braun, I need more spears, but Braun is a calculated attack when he attacks his opponents. I really love from Braun. Then Braun getting, then you see the one thing that WWE never gets a lot of credit is their production, or maybe they do, but they don't get enough full love with the way they produce and shoot things. In the background of when he's about to do his running spears, Pierce just intercepts and comes to a stop. But in the background, you see the opportunistic vision, ready to tsunami poor Penta, and he does get tsunami by Big Brunson Reed. But you see that the shots and the focus in, and you can see it in the background. That's cinema, like they like to say that, and that shot well. That's investment. That's storytelling, and that's something that you got to really appreciate when WWE gives you that. Because they could easily went to the Marks and Dusseldorf, Ooh and I, or Pearson, Braun, but they kept you that in that background. Loved it. That's something that, as a viewer, being thousands of miles away or watching it at home, not everyone could afford those prices to those tickets. You feel like you're right in there, at ringside. So good job on that for WWE production. Then we see Pierce very angry when he goes to tend to Penta. Braun gets his spear on Dragon Lee, and then Pierce puts his hand on Braun, and Braun loses it. Pretty much pushes him, backs him down in a corner. You see the Vision holding him back. Don't get suspended, kid, or fired, all that good stuff. What my point is, where's it going to lead in the backstage promo where he tells him to leave, and I love how Heyman calmly, nonchalant says, no, you have the problem. You laid your hands on him first, Mr. Pierce. Where is that going to lead? We will find out. Right now, when I heard reports around Christmas time that Braun is supposed to win the Royal Rumble, I was like, that means he's not winning against Punk. Now I think he's winning. I was very convinced that Braun was beating Punk for the world title. Now, things change. But if that's something for a WrestleMania moment, and we'll, when I get Chris back on, when Chris is able to join me, we'll talk about predictions where the Rumble and all that stuff. That's the week go by where we think the WrestleMania card is now, and then we'll look back at it and go, boy, we were wrong. We'll do that. I like to do that to see, look into a crystal ball. It's just a recap. It's from a fan's perspective. We don't claim to be any analysis insiders or any all that stuff. We're fans. We're fan analysis, and we're giving you the fan analysis of our perspective of watching wrestling. So again, you guys make it to heart. Go ahead. It's fun. This is the fun part of being a wrestling fan. When my point was with Braun, you take him out. He somehow gets in the Rumble. Could he be number one for Pierce? Says, you know what? I'll put you in the Rumble. You're gonna be at one, and he's got to go through 29 other men. And Braun could run the gauntlet and says, screw you. I'm the number one contender. Maybe he goes after Drew. Maybe he wants the World Heavyweight title. Who knows? We'll find out how that unfolds. But I thought this Monday Night Raw was very good. These 2 hours and 40 minutes on a Monday afternoon at 2:00, boy, it went so smooth. It went extremely smooth. It didn't feel long. I think it's because it's a Monday. You work, you come home, you want to watch wrestling, you want to escape. And I say, how did you do it in USA Network? I'll tell you what. I think I have a theory why we tolerated that back in those days. And I know they give us a boatload of commercials. They give us a lot of commercials when it comes to Netflix, which is another tyrant or another upset I get. You're paying $22 for the low end of Netflix to watch if you're in the United States. Is there any chance you just give us picture in picture? Run your if you have to run these commercials because you need every quarter nickel that out there advertising wise, we get it, the business part, but give us picture in picture. TBS has no issues with All Elite Wrestling do Dynamite during a match. Gives us a picture in picture. You don't have to give us picture in picture for everything. For at least a match, when you're watching a match and there's a comeback or a moment out on the apron or whatever the case is, and a lot of times I have the international feed. Not a lot happens really because this is what pisses me off. The referee goes over to the talent, and I guess they tell them they're in a break, and they don't really do too much. some holds here and yada stuff. But sometimes when the match is going like in a big important one, they tend to commercial in an awkward time, and you're like, oh, I'm just getting into this, and they go picture in picture, keep us invested. It's a streaming service. You could do it if the CW allows it on network television. USA at times does it. I think Netflix should be something that they really could take us to another level, to Netflix, especially since reports came out of, I believe, Vanity Fair, 300 million people viewed WWE and consumed in a year for near one in Netflix. So there is a lot of people watching. I don't know how many of them have the $22 lower tier, or how many of them have the higher tier with no commercials. But boy, if you are getting over 340 and you do it at the minimum at $22, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and plus the advertising. Again, I don't think it'll hurt if you give us picture. And then when there's no there's no matches, you want to give us commercial, then go for it. Or learn from the TNA Plus app. I think they do a phenomenal job when it comes to putting in the commercials on the TNA Plus app. When after the match, they'll load it for 5 minutes almost of commercials, a break. And they go right back, and you really don't get invested in their action, their in-ring action. You don't tend to go in the middle of a match where, Kenny, when there's a kick out of two or a moonsault just been executed, and you don't know what else happens. And when you come back, the roles are reversed with the babyface on top, or the vice versa. So we'll see how it goes. That was Monday Night Raw review. We're going to go right into TNA, NXT, and I got some news for NXT and some TNAs as well. But first, let's hear from our sponsor.
All right, quick break. Don't go anywhere. This segment is sponsored by Dude Wipes. Whether you're grinding through work, hitting the gym, or locked in for a full night of wrestling, Dude Wipes help you stay fresh. Simple as that. Portable, convenient, and designed for real life. And of course, this show is powered by the Sports Jedi Network. Independent wrestling coverage, real discussion, and a community that actually knows the product. If you rock with what we do here, support the sponsors that support the channel. Now, let's get back to the breakdown. Take it away, PGH Chris and Sports Jedi Kev.
You're watching Jedi Sports Network with Kev.
All right. Thank you, Jody Threat. We got some news on Jody Threat as well coming up. Let's go to NXT. NXT, of course, we're going to have a full breakdown with Latinos in Wrestling with me and Chris during the week. We'll usually go through all that, and we want to hear his perspective. Just want to give a little bit of a quick rehash. We appreciate you joining me and listening to the show. We'll talk about some NXT. NXT on the 13th of January. The show opens up with Ava in the middle of the ring, kicking it off, addressing the big shakeup in NXT. We're talking about Obafemi vacating the NXT Championship last week with the top prize suddenly up for grabs. Ava says to the whole men's division is up and is wide open. Anyone wants to step up. And now it's a moment for anyone from veterans, overlooked talent, newcomers to step up and claim their destiny. Ricky Saints come out, who thanks the crowd for immediately turning the spotlight on himself. Ricky Saints brags about that he ran the stand-alone main event right out of NXT, calling it absolute hat trick over names like Javon, Trick Williams, Obafemi. Claimed that Ova didn't want to give him a rematch because the ruler is afraid. He took his ball and hightailed out of the Performance Center. Declared himself then, now, and forever. Before cutting to the point, he expected Ava to give him the championship, but Ava shut that down quick, and she mentioned there's going to be qualifying matches, and 6 men will qualify to stake a claim to wrestle on February 3rd. I believe it's Vengeance Day. I don't think she announced the name of I don't know if she announced the name of the venue or the show, but normally it's Vengeance Day in February. For a new champion in a 6-man ladder match. Qualifying matches are there. Then everything went to a broil. Everyone went in a massive brawl. Out of the back comes on Keanu Carver. Who was this Keanu Carver guy? This guy is a guy that's been on Evolve, who is just a monster of a presentation. He's big, he's strong, but not tall. He's just one of those brick house. He looks like a smaller version, a medium version of Obafemi. Keanu Carver, but he's packs a punch. He was flinging people everywhere. I mean, he stand out like a wrecking machine. I mean, he just wiped people out left and right, power bombing Brooke Jensen right through the announce table, rocking Jackson Drake with a forearm, sending Drake crashing into the border on the ringside. Carver ended with a chaos and 10 stare down with Ricky Saint. So they're teasing that. Maybe that aesthetic wise, it looks stronger with Ricky versus Keanu than Oba. Oba was such a big, massive monster behind him, but the brawl broke out. This was something to start off was really hot because other than that, one thing I had a little bit of a disconnect though. There was hopefully we hear something Thursday night on Impact, on Thursday nights on AMC. They mentioned 4 matches. There was going to be some more matches for qualifiers. No TNA talent. They had no TNA talent mentioned for this possible world title for the men's vacancy. I have an issue with that because they are quickly to announce and appoint NXT talent to take on TNA titles when we're going to break down in a few minutes, even throughout the whole course of the night. No mention of TNA participant in their titles. I have a little bit of an issue. They're a collaboration with TNA. We need a little bit of a two-way street here. They kind of pick and choose which titles they want. The closest one that they had an opportunity was for the North American title with Moose and Ethan Page. Bravo. Finally, it's about time we had something there. I know the Hardys won tag team titles, but listen, face it, we knew the Hardys was going to take those titles from Dark State, which Dark State got it back, but we knew Hardys were going to hold on, was going to beat them the first time. It's just the way they're seasoned, veteran, and maybe that's why they're afraid of having TNA talent step in the ring with the younger talent in NXT, because I mean, how do you but they sometimes TNA talents do the job. I mean, you could see it. I'm not saying Eagle Page could be the Moose, yes, absolutely. But I've had other matches that I raised my eyebrows, like a Stacks beating a Steve Macklin. I know he had help and so forth. We'll see where that goes. With it, I had a little bit of disconnect, but let's stick on the NXT. We'll get to the TNA in a minute. Lola Vice took on Kalani Jordan. Pretty much, I mentioned this in our watch along. We do our watch alongs for NXT here on the Sports Jedi Network. I was saying to Chris, I said, this seems like it's a number 1 contenders match. And Chris agreed with me. I said, this looks like a number 1 contenders match between Lola and Kalani. Look, Kalani just comes off a couple months, short title reign, but as a TNA Knockouts champion, I thought it looked really good on her. I thought she sees that confidence level. But for Lola, which she worked so hard in AAA Mexico, ready to take the next step, been rumored of one of those call-ups going up to WWE main roster, either SmackDown or Raw. For Lola, I would like to see Lola maybe to possibly have a title run before, even if it's a short one, then head up to the main roster, just for her to see what gold feels like, to be in the spotlight, commanding and having an opportunity to be on top. Look, Tatum Paxley had an opportunity. It'd be nice to see Lola as well. I think, just something different, but we'll see. The match started off well. Kalani jumping to Lola immediately before the bell rang, blasting her off the apron, immediately flying with some slingshots attacked. And once that match started, Lola fought back, scrapping down, back and forth they went. And I was very surprised with the finish when it came when Jordan tried to steal it using the ropes for leverage, only to get caught by the referee, argues with Vice, and took advantage and drilled her with the 305 for the pin. And wow, Lola Vice got that was an important victory on Kalani Jordan, getting with the 305. But then after the match, Lola made it clear. I actually appreciated she went and looked for the camera. This is what I wanted Thea Hale to do when she, instead of crying and look at the camera and tell people and come after and cut a promo, like try to get the title for me. Lola made it clear she's coming for Izzy Dane for her North American title. And she mentioned the fact that I beat you a couple of weeks ago. I love that because she's reminding you and if you're an NXT watcher, yeah, she did. Now you feel like she's going to breathe on the neck on Izzy Dane, where Izzy Dane could be another short title run, maybe not. I don't know. It's good for Lola, but Lola, I would love Lola to pull the trigger. I thought, it's something different and fresh. I would have liked Lola to be Jason Jane and maybe JC moves up, but it is what it is. I'm intrigued to see Lola and Izzy. down the road, we'll find out if that's what they're going to grant it, because Ava is doing whatever they do there, or creative is doing. Sometimes they say one thing and it does something different. So who knows? We'll find out with those. Good job there for Lola. And I thought Kalani in defeat always puts on a good match there too. She's another one. If they wanted to pull her up, which I think they should keep her for just a little more. I don't think she's ready. You don't want to totally deplete the NXT roster, although they have strong women. And by the way, speaking of NXT, you have NXT time with D-Walk on the PUWF, our friends, collaborators. Also with Rican Reactions, does the Evolve recaps. So check those guys out on the PUWF, the podcast for unappreciative wrestling fans. Always had me on there a couple days ago, last week. And of course, we had a nice time. They're always good friends of us. You see from time to time on our watch-alongs with D-Walk, Joe Blanco, Christian Deshawn from the Misfit Nations, and of course, Alex Coquito from Rican Reactions. Wanted to shout out our guys there who always collaborates with us, whether it's on social media, whether it's on YouTube, whatever the case is. Wanted to shout those gentlemen out. And of course, all their good opinions there in their channel. And then and of course, the Evolve. They're knee deep into the Evolve. You know, one of the few that really dissects and appreciates the essence of Evolve, the brand, the shows, the talents. Check them out. Give them an opportunity and help them grow along with us. They really want to let you know that they waved that flag for Evolve. So I'll make sure we wanted to shout them out. We get to a men's speed champion, Jasper Troy versus Trevion Heights. This is something where a lot of people dislike the men's speed champion. I could see why, ladies and gentlemen. 3-minute matches. The number one contender has to go through a tournament to fight the world champion, the speed champion, and then 5 minutes. And that's I mentioned this on a watch along. I proposed this. I would love to see the speed championship be changed to WWE television championship, where it's 10 minutes, 10-minute matches. You know, that's their time limit. The champion, whoever's the speed champion, or not the television champion, now is able to work on all the brands. They could defend their title on Evolve, NXT, Friday Night SmackDown, Monday Night Raw, main event, TNA. And that's a way of whoever you want to make your television champion. You could, like a Jasper Troy, you want to see where he is, take his temperature, goes on a Monday Night Raw, have a match. If you don't want to bury a talent or have him beat a talent, let's say he takes on Otis. See how he works with the big guy Otis. He goes with Otis. And you don't want to see Otis actually get pinned, or you don't think, go to the 10-minute draw. Jasper Troy retains because he's the champion, similar to the way they used to do in NWA WCW. Especially with stunning Stone Cold Steve Austin, got away with a lot of time limit draw matches, Pillman, those battles with, and you could see that. And it just doesn't have to be Jasper Troy. If you want to see another wrestler with that title, that's a way you can. And then people could you move them around, and you could showcase that talent, or you think a guy is ready for, and you want to see that television title helps you check out a barometer if he's over in different brands, and maybe you want to make a move to elevate or not, and the television title helps you. You know, you could. I think that's a good way with that, and eliminate the speed, and you could still have those tournaments for your television championship if you want to on different brands to take out take on the television champion and so forth. It also gives you story if you want to with other talents that are like, instead of sitting around and catering, you could have a couple qualifiers to take on the television champion who's going to be on SmackDown so or on Raw. You could make that announcement like that's a kind of a workhorse WWE type of within WWE territory, even AAA Mexico. You could have them move around. You know, that would have been a nice way of getting a guy like Eli Knight, who's, by the way, just signed to NXT contract. If you want to have him, check him out and set him work with different wrestling, people could start seeing this young kid coming up. Oh, I remember that guy. Wasn't he the television champion? And I saw a match with him and so on. So I think that's a good idea and abolish the speed championship. They're not doing it no more on Twitter. They're not doing it on X for the social media. That was the concept of it. Now let's make it a television or a streaming platform. Let's call it a television champion, and you get to see the champion there. I hope they go there. Jasper Troy wins with the Boss Man Slam. He beats Travion Heights. Where does Travion Heights go from there? There's a lot of upsides in Travion. I don't know. We'll find out because after the bell, Lexus King ambushed him from behind. I'm glad that we saw little Alexis King because we've seen him a lot on TNA with the TNA Outlaws, where Stacks, the High Rise, Brooks Jensen. I kind of want to see where that they kind of don't pretty much acknowledge it too much on NXT television for some reason. They're more of a pack on TNA. But last night throughout the course of the show, Lexus King, Stacks showing that they have that same I got your back togetherness that we see on TNA, which I kind of like. I finally appreciated that. So we saw him plant them in the coronation. We saw that backstage with Lexus King and Stacks. Let's see where that goes. Let's see where it goes. So here's one thing. Ava, in her office, you see Kendall Gray, Ren Sinclair wants to speak with Ava. Then so Ruka and Zarya, which I'm like, what are we still doing? Why isn't Zarya getting singles matchup and working alone? Something about Zarya has to be going on in the Performance Center with her coaches. Don't hardly see her singles push. To me, she should be. We never got the matchup. They left some money on the table, in my opinion, with Zarya and Jordynne Grace on NXT. They teased that back in Philadelphia when Jordynne Grace was Knockouts champion, part of TNA, when they all did that 10-woman tag. If you recall, they teased that ending. There was some friction. Never got that payoff in WWE television or NXT television. And I don't know what's going on with Zarya. Is it something in the in-ring that we're not seeing with the coaches? They're not giving her that singles push to the top of the women's card. It just feels like they hold hands with Sol Ruka. And now we're finding out that Fatal Influence, Ren Sinclair, Kendall Gray, Zarya, and Sol Ruka are going to have a triple threat match for the number one contenders for TNA Knockouts title, where I go, So here's another NXT made talent to go after and try to capture TNA titles. I say this, if I'm TNA with the Knockouts division, I am concerned because I think whoever wins this triple threat, I think they're going to take the Knockouts championship. I hate to say that because you're telling me you get Ren and Kendall Gray with the Knockouts title. That's exciting for TNA wrestling. The Angel Warriors versus Kendall Gray and Ren Sinclair, banger of a match. If they were become the number one contenders down the road. Fatal Influence, whichever two of the ladies taking on the Elegance brand, hell of a match. The Inspirations taking on either Sol Ruka or Zarya. You're telling me that if you're a WWE or even a TNA fan, you're not going to enjoy watching that? So I'm a little concerned because for the outshining of the women from NXT over the TNA currently right now kind of makes me concerned a little bit. But I gave you some great juicy matches with TNA NXT crossovers. Whoever wins, or either any of those variations, whoever wins those triple threat for NXT. So we'll see where that goes. But I am a little concerned why NXT could put their talents in the TNA title picture. I don't see TNA Santino putting TNA talent on NXT side of titles. I want to see, more people challenge for NXT titles. Don't stay there with your hands crossed and wait for these guys to come in and take the last freaking Coca-Cola from your refrigerator. Go and take theirs. That's the way I call it. All right. We get a Miles Bourne in the back with Robin Stone. Kind of got a little testy. You seen him unhinge. Maybe the words of Ethan Page going into Miles Bourne's head, telling him he demands a qualifier match. And if he hears him, they've been teasing all through the night, Ava, with a phone call. Someone's coming. Something there. I'm thinking, something big. It's because Elio Lafleur, the French luchador, is coming. He is going to get into one of those matches. He's getting a title shot against All Ego Ethan Page, as All Ego is getting under Ava's nerves. All Ego cut a hell of a promo saying that he is the wrestler of the year. He should be the one on top of the men's world heavyweight champion. This is something that I got a little bothered. Ava says, no, you can't be a double champion. I'm not allowing that. So you want to fight for the world heavyweight title? You got to relinquish the North American title. Gee, now you put those rules. You let Stephanie carry that title. So sometimes these plot holes with NXT, it makes you wonder, like, where are we going with this? Why? If Eagle Page wants to be double champion, you left Stephanie double champ. Why not Eagle Page? Eagle Page is a hell of a freaking heel. I know they weren't going to go that route, but I want to be the contrarian in this conversation. Really? Now you want to impose that rule? Well, we'll see where that goes, but Lefleur will be taking on All Ego for the North American title next week. It's a North American. You got a Frenchman. Listen, his work is pretty. I think is something blanc on the independent scene. He's put on a mask now, and he had a good match in AAA. Last AAA, Titanes and Héroes match up there in AAA on December 20th. Worked that card, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty good guy, could wrestle. Interesting to see where it is. It's like he's going to be now the French Axiom. Axiom was from France. Now you got the French Axiom, Luchador. Let's see where that goes. Hopefully the crowd in NXT receives him well and he gets going. I thought he was going to be involved. Maybe he'll go back and forth, have that match with Eagle Page, then has head to Evolve and back and forth. We'll see where it comes to Lefleur, and he'll debut next week. We have Blake Monroe, which we thought Blake Monroe, according to reports, was heading to SmackDown or disappears. I guess she, under her concerns, wants to stay a little longer in SmackDown. Don't know why, but she wants to stay down in NXT. She comes out, takes the mic, fuming over last week's chaos. She claimed she came out intending to reclaim what she called her women's North American championship, argued over the situation. It became controversy by the sign. Monroe declares herself the standard. A little gimmick infringing there. There's a guy in the Bronx that he's the standard, but he's the standard of TNA. And she said everyone's obsessed over her because she's the moment. Then a familiar face interrupts until Jada Parker interrupts. The place went banana. Miss Parker, very over with that crowd. Loved it. And of course, Monroe takes a cheap shot at Parker, blocked it, and exploded into a brawl. I love that they didn't even talk. That's what you do. See, a girl like that who just does all action, none of this wasa. That's why you gotta like Miss Parker. Miss Parker, here's the one thing I've said so many times. She's great. I need a different finisher. The Hypnotic is great for the NXT level. But if you want to go to that next level, championship, even to the main roster, I think you need a new finisher. That's all. You got it. You got the microphone. You got the look. You got everything. Charisma. I need you to come up with a different finisher. Hypnotic should be a transitional if you want to hit it. You could get some wins with that, but to get that championship level, Ms. Parker, I think you need another finisher. I don't know what it is. I don't know what what's the skill set that you could pull off with it. I'm not asking you to do a Northern Lights suplex, a perfect plex into a bridge. I need another finisher, something for you to get over to get you that next championship level, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. You take a grain of salt, but I think you're there. You're right at the cusp. I think that's what's has held you back from NXT Gold. But hopefully, we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. We get to the next match, Stacks, with the TNA International Champion taking on Shiloh Hill, Adriana Grace in the corner. I've been one who's been very, very irate. Why is Shiloh Hill having a match for a title, let alone a TNA World title, when he's never had a match in TNA company or with any other TNA talent where he has won a number one contendership for a TNA opportunity for the international title? Now I see why a guy like a Jake something, I'm out of here. I know it's about money, but he's gone. What does that say about a Steve Macklin? Who's lost his title, and you're giving a kid who's on a reality show how to learn how to wrestle. Let's think it again. A reality show of how to learn how to wrestle with 3 or 4 Hall of Fame coaches teaching you how to do it. and he's taking on Stacks for the TNA international title. I had an issue with that. Yes, the kid has charisma. Maybe the crowd likes him. He's not there yet. He's not there yet. You don't go into a company and say, and you're going to be the supervisor immediately when they were just training you as a trainee. You go in for a company to train as an apprentice. You're not going to be the project manager if you're in construction. You have to grow. You have to grow into it. If you're especially green, it's like he's coming from another company. He's green. He's learning. He's learning how to put on his boots. I have an issue. That's all I have. I have an issue. That's it. That's all I have an issue with Shiloh Hill. Now, if they wanted to go for a speed title, all right, LFG guy. They have history and they worked in LFG. I get it. I think this is where the creative did a little bit of a mistake. It should have been Shiloh Hill taking on Jasper Troy, and it should have been Tyrion Heights taking on Stacks. I think it would have been a little more appeasing, especially for the collaboration. Travion had a match with Mike Santana. Mike Santana's debut over in WWE television. This is where I have a little bit disconnect. So we'll see where that goes. Shiloh Hill loses on a roll-up, too. And the way Stacks got out of there, it felt like Shiloh Hill was going to win this title. Bravo on the storytelling. If I bid on some false finishes, thinking Stacks should have lost or almost lost, especially with Adriana Grace's help, with the roll-up, pushing Shiloh Hill's body the other way, and he got that quick roll-up. With the inside cradle, I still not comfortable having Shiloh wrestle for this TNA title. Now, it was mentioned that he is going to be one of those gentlemen to be in a qualifier to qualify for the ladder match for the NXT World Title. How do I feel about that? He's an NXT talent. If NXT wants to push him, if Undertaker's pulling strings and favors to keep this kid on the top of the card, that's their product. Undertaker could want a rebuttal and WWE affairs with his politicking. Fine. Good. Let Shiloh Hill win the title, but not a TNA title. Don't politic WWE to have that kid represent TNA. Just imagine if this kid would have won that TNA title on its AMC premiere. No. Just think of it. Anyway, and people are having a hard time with Stacks, but you could tolerate that Stacks is going to be Santino's son-in-law, and there's a storyline there. If you're watching TNA, even if for the newcomers, they're going to say Adriana's a daughter, that's his son-in-law. Now I can understand. You could play that storyline, even for new viewers that they're going to get in AMC. You could tell that, but not Shiloh. So that's the only thing I had a little bit of disconnect. It's not that, again, if Undertaker wants to politic him to win the NXT World Title, God bless them. Go for it. Have their way there. Izzy Dane comes out. I thought Izzy Dane cut a hell of a freaking promo, in my opinion. Coming out there, cutting this promo was a strong Izzy Dane promo, addressing the crowd as a new North American Women's Champion. Called it a calculation. She planned it. It was inevitable. She mocked the idea that she crumbled after losing week prior and says that she studies defeats and uses them to set traps. She's also warned the challengers like Lola Vice Dia Hale that wanting the title and getting near it are two different things. And I love that, the way she delivered it. Her deliverance for Izzy Dane was so good. I know she said on really Busted Open After Dark, people interpret her like with something that's against her resting bitch face. But when she delivered these promos, own it. That face, I don't want to. You got that face. I don't want to fuck with you. I don't want to mess with you when it comes to Izzy Dane. And I like it, especially she's that heel. She's got an it factor. She's got an it factor. She needs more polishing in her ring, where that takes time with any performer with bumps. Her matches are not that boring. They're really good matches. I thought they stopped her growth a little bit when Kiana James got called up. She was on a roll with Kiana. They had a nice twosome going. Then that was diverted into the culling, and now she's feeling like she's getting her foot back and starting to get now, into second, third gear for Izzy Dane for her, and I loved it. Then Tatum Paxley snaps, breaking from the officials, tackling Dane in the ring. Paxley hammered with a ground and pound until Dane, of course, chicken shit heel retreats. In the chaos, Tatum Paxley headbutts the crap out of Chip Danning, the referee. Wagada. That was a freaking awesome move where it got her ejected from the ring and from the building that night for Tatum Paxley. She's unhinging and is all under Izzy Dane's doing. Loved it there. A little bit of Ricky Saints backstage. We're talking about the qualifiers. Ricky Saints doesn't need a qualifier. He wants to enter the ladder match. He also announced he'll be on commentary next week for 2 of the qualifiers. Shawn Legacy versus Eli Knight. Josh Briggs versus Shiloh Hill. And I know they say, how is Shiloh Hill getting a match when he just lost a title match? That's NXT. That's the politicking that I was telling you about. But let's go. Where Stacks, and I was talking about this earlier, where Stacks and Andreana Grace, and you hear Stacks complaining why Shiloh Hill's getting a qualifier after facing him, defeating him. Saints told Stacks to relax. He's still a champion. Thanks to his girl helping him, threw a jab at him, passive aggressive remarks. And then Alexis King appeared and told Stacks, we need to talk. Looks like they might hijack that. We need that kind of invasion, not invasion, that camaraderie that we saw them causing issues to Mike Santana in Full Sail. We need that in NXT, that group sticking together. Personally, we'll find out if that happens going forward. Let's go right to the main event where we had no disqualification between Joe Henry with OTM by the side, Bronco and Lucius, and against Dion Lennox with Dark State. No disqualification match. In the beginning of the match for an ODQ, Dark State played like perfect choir boys. No, and then it got a little into the ending. Towards the ending, it got a little chaotic. Weapons were involved, a table. The men started brawling. The OTM men, of course, with the Dark State gentlemen back and forth. The folks online, I was reading some of the comments on our chat, didn't like the fact that finishers kicks out, the spear. One thing I had a bad of disconnect that I did not like, when Joe Henry used the brass knuckles and he squarely hit Lennox right on the temple. You could see it. I mean, wrestling terms. He hit him on the temple and the head, and Lennox kicked out at 2. And I'm like, whoa. You're telling me the brass knuckles, the same brass knuckles that Logan Paul used to punch Rey Mysterio, a Hall of Famer, to win the United States title, Dion Lennox could kick out at 2? Really? I have an issue with that. People remember, people watch, people are not stupid. When you, especially brass knuckles, that's supposed to be a lights out situation. I would have liked them to put a foot on the rope, maybe. And he's like, you're still, and you're able to put a foot on the rope. But that's just minor picking, maybe, or maybe I'm just one of those relics who watch wrestling too much and just kind of be so with the probably joining the negativity, the contrarian party. I don't know, but I just didn't like that part. Back and forth they went, where Brutal, the chair shot, standing ovation. Out comes Tony D'Angelo and just obliterates Lennox. Then extending his hands to Joe Henry and nails him too, and then puts him on top for the pin. Henry wins, and I'm like confused with Tony D'Angelo. All through the night, you saw Tony D'Angelo and walking through the back here and there in the back of the Performance Center when they did some backstage shots. If you look at it, you see him in the back walking and creeping. I don't know what's going on with Tony D. Remember, he is the last man to defeat. No, he was the first man to defeat Obafemi for the North American title. He has a victory over Obafemi. I don't know why WWE TV hasn't mentioned. Maybe because they want to keep him strong going to the main roster for Femi. I don't know, but I wonder what happens there with that, where that goes. Listen, NXT, me and Chris mentioned this. The first hour was so good. It was moving. It was fast until we got that match when we got to the halfway point, I believe the Shiloh Hill match, it just felt like it was lingering. The Dark State match was okay. It just felt like it lingered afterwards. The finisher, even though you're a heel. I don't know if you're a heel or babyface. You hit the heel, you don't, and then you put them on the pin. It's like, it felt weird. This was okay NXT. The first half was a good tell two stories when NXT. The second, it wasn't terrible, but it was okay. It was like, you was such in great momentum. I wish you would have kept it hotter. But it was. That was NXT. Now, names that are being vanity project. All three members now part of the NXT roster. You have Eli Knight now part of the NXT roster. Illa Fleur part of the NXT roster. Now you see a lot of I believe Kelly Armstrong will be part of the NXT roster. Great job for them going forward, where that goes. So interesting to see where NXT, they're revamping, losing a lot of talent to the main roster. Where does Obafemi? Reports have it, certain outlets are saying Raw for Obafemi. Personally, I hope it's SmackDown, because you don't want to have them on the same show with Gunther, Braun Breaker. They're going to collide sooner or later. You need to buy a little time. I would love to see Oba in SmackDown. There's especially where there's a natural story with Drew McIntyre getting shoved. He's currently your undisputed world champion. Why not he try to sign? He has he made a statement, and also going to all the distance, not getting a finish because of Drew with Cody Rhodes. That's kind of feels like a natural fit, going forward, but we'll see. I know maybe, he also has history with Trick Williams, even with Javon Evans too. So don't know where he shows up. Personally, I would love him on Friday nights. It's a 3-hour show. I would like to see Obafemi, the next big thing there, but we'll see. Wherever he shows up, he's going to be a huge impact for that program. All right, speaking of impact, TNA Impact this Thursday, AMC, the premiere episode. We are so excited that it's finally here. Our Impact TNA will be coming on live. I don't believe it's every week, but there'll be more live more often on a big platform. And the news, of course, that came out, AJ Styles will be on the premiere show. He will be on AMC. Now, what is he going to do? Why is he there? We will find out. You have to tune in to AMC to find out his tensions. He might just come out and be the first talking about TNA's growth and be on the video package and TV deal. Welcome to the new home. Welcome. He might just do that. I'm pretty sure he's going to get interrupted by someone. Maybe AJ Francis. He always been saying, hey, AJ, and probably get the battle of the AJ. Who knows? I know a lot of people may not want to see that. They want to see him and somehow in the main event. But TNA has a different plan. They said they needed something for the main event. They needed something to bring credibility, according to this person. So they called him. President Carlos Silva called him. Call him on the line. We need you. TNA needs you to be guest commentary for the Mike Santana Frankie match. I raise an eyebrow. I ask you, chat. I ask you, everyone that's listening to the video. No shade against the two-time Hall of Famer, the calf god, the Prince of Sausage and Prime Ribs. What else? The other stuff, whatever he tells his partner to gloat. I think I would have liked AJ Styles to be in commentary for the main event. Willie Ray, if he wanted to do something, he could have done something. There's other title matches wouldn't mind his expertise in. I know he was a former TNA world champion with the Aces of Eights. I get it. But bigger, especially Bubba's not going to get in the ring no more. He said he's done. Oh, no, you never know. Even if he were to get back in the ring, do you see him wanting to go? Let me ask this, TNA fans. Do you want to see Bubba Ray against AJ? Bubba Ray versus Frankie Kazarian or Mike Santana? Or would you like to see AJ Styles and Frankie Kazarian? AJ Styles or Mike Santana? Think about it. Why not have AJ on the commentary for the main event? Where Kazarian goes to the outside, he looks at him, gets in with AJ, a little slap, whatever the case is, something along the lines where now if Frankie causes the distraction from AJ Styles, he gets hit with a spin the block, Mike wins the World Heavyweight title, then a match happens on Genesis. Frankie Kazarian, AJ Styles, like Frankie mentioned on our channel, on our interview, we have had the honor to interview both men in the main event, in Frankie Kazarian and Mike Santana. You could check it out on our Sports Jedi Network. We 2 interviews with Mike Santana, 2 different occasions. Of course, we don't hide the fact that we are massive Mike Santana fans, our guy from the Bronx. And I would love to. I would have loved AJ Styles. But we're gonna get Bubba Ray in the commentary. Let's see where that goes. He's not gonna do a terrible job in commentary. He's gonna do a good job. Maybe they want to add something. Maybe that's something new for Bubba to work as a commentator from time to time, that third man on AMC. So a household name that people heard of. And maybe that's maybe I'm looking at it as a fan's perspective, not a business perspective, like he likes to say. And maybe he is good for business because people know who he is and they're going to hear his voice and tune in Thursday nights to listen to Bubba on commentary. Maybe that's something they rock. And I totally didn't see the picture at the moment. But the storyline for afterwards is AJ Styles. Because here's the reason why. Matthew Ringwald and Tom Hannafin do a phenomenal job. I've been watching and listening to them since they've been a pair. I go back as 2002. I'm not one of those guys that's seen the Samoa Joe, TNA, and the Christopher Daniels. I do know about my history. Wasn't a huge fan, but I've always said this time and time again. I am so immersed with TNA since that Queen of the Mountain match when you had Chelsea, Diana, Meechin, Jordan Grace, Mickey James. I mean, and watching that whole card, that was to me the match that stood out the most. I said, I got to watch Impact Wrestling. And then after that, every week after watch alongs and investing to the point where we are with TNA, we pretty much say we're the unofficial podcast of TNA Wrestling. I mean, we want to claim it. I don't just say it. Clorox Report says it. Unathletic Illustrated says it. I mean, they all say it. So I can't help it. So let's go. So we are going to do that. We're going to see how the main event goes. One thing that came scrapped out of it was the X Division champion, where Leon Slater taking on Marlon Reed. We all know there's some contracts. Hasn't re-signed. Reports has it out. I believe Fightful reported that the whole entire Rascals haven't re-signed. Could be out. We all already know that Jake Doyle in AEW signed a new deal off the roster page. But when you look at the TNA roster page, Killer Kelly said is no longer her time is up, but she's still on the roster page. Maybe her time has expired, but they're negotiating for a contract and they haven't announced it yet, or maybe they're waiting to go on a podcast because they have been doing that. They've been going on different networks or different podcasting, and the talents have been announcing they're resigning. Speaking of resigning, you had Jody Threat. You saw her interview her last week. Around this time last week, we had Jody Threat on. Sweetheart, re-signed with TNA. Just re-signed a new contract. Broke the news today. So she is returning back to TNA. Good job for the Wild Child. They're going to keep her around, and I am so thankful and happy that she's not going anywhere. So good for Jody Threat not leaving. John Skyler, also on Busted Open, announced that he's re-signed with TNA. Good job there. One half of the Good Hands, part of the Order 4. Mustafa Ali, speaking of Mustafa Ali, also I believe on the Salcedo girl, he announced that he re-signed with them as well. So kudos for her. Cedric Alexander has re-signed with TNA via Fightful Select. So I wanted to give them their credit, of course, breaking those news. And of course, the names will start going and start returning. The hometown man, aka Cody Deaner, has re-signed with TNA. Hometown man is so over with the crowd, getting the people going. There's always a place for everyone, no matter what. And there'll probably be more as the dates come out. Listen, if TNA doesn't sign Marlon Reed, that's a little bit of a disservice. This kid was a main event with Leon Slater on one of their PLEs. Believe it was Emergence, if I'm not mistaken, right before Bound for Glory. You have to bring Marlon Reed. This kid that young goat is so smooth. Don't let WWE swap him or get him. AEW, if they sign him, will run on some great matches. I don't know if he's going to get that extra push because they have a lot of almost the same of Marlon Reed to the top. But either way, they're getting themselves a freaking awesome wrestler. But if he, at this point, look, he's married to Killer Kelly. They have a beautiful young daughter. If it's about making money, make the money, young goat. If it's something that you're gonna make a lot more money, we're gonna miss you watching you on Thursday nights, but we'll keep an eye and watch where you go, whether it's on Wednesdays, Tuesdays, or possibly Monday and Fridays will be watching you because you are that type of a talent. And Killer Kelly as well. I mean, I kind of find this a little weird, especially where you just paired her with Rosemary and it felt like a natural fit, and especially in a division that needs more knockout tag teams. I found it kind of odd that you letting that disband where Rosemary and Killer Kelly would have been a nice welcoming addition to the knockouts as a heel female group to go out there to, now you're relying on NXT to send you ladies tag teams when you have your homegrown who helped you get these TV deals. That's the only thing. Again, it's a negotiating thing. You never know what's up there, money and cents, or where Killer Kelly's at in her career as well. Maybe she's, it's okay for her to do independent wrestling, being a mom at home where the young daughter, probably now is going, daycare is expensive or it's hard to travel, and now the education system for the young lady going, for the young child getting into preschool. We don't know. It's not our business, but we'll support wherever they show up for Killer Kelly and Marlon Reed if they're not with TNA. So interesting to see where they go going forward. So I can't wait to see you there for TNA and that card. The Inspirations are going to take on the Elegance brand. I think the Inspirations hold on unless they bring out the mystery Elegance man. Could be Perez Hilton. He's going to be out there, the social media influencer. Perez Hilton is going to join TNA. They're bringing out all the stops. They're asking podcast reactors to be there in condescends to be there at the show, and and hopefully they don't start crying in the front row and where they're at, and they're not crying all over the place for TNA. Don't embarrass themselves, but it's good to see that they're going to be there. It's good to see that TNA is getting the exposure that those men and women in the locker room earn and work their ass off. And the leadership of Carlos Silva, you gotta give that man his flowers. Carlos Silva set a goal. You can check out his interview as well. He talked about the people in Dallas, his first as president being there, and his first live event with TNA. It was Dallas last year in 2025, and he said about 34-degree weather, cold, raining, those people out there in hours to come in and see their TNA wrestlers. The meet and greets, standing in line, purchasing the meet and greets, seeing their talents and enjoying their show really touch and hit a beautiful spot for Carlos Silva in his heart. And he says it on the interview. You can check it out on my social media page or on my YouTube. And, if you want that clip, I have it on my social media where you hear Carlos Silva talk about Dallas, how important and how much it has a special place in his heart. And you see it here. So I hope they sell the building. I hope they force TNA management to open up another section in Dallas on the Caldwell Center. I believe there's a few tickets left for the Thursday and not much for Genesis. So hopefully it's a full sellout, a full capacity crowd, because those men and women on that TNA roster earned it. Not deserved it, they earned it. Going out there and working and get your meet and greets. Those you hear Nick Nemeth talked about how important those meet and greets are and how much they enjoy the feedback for the fan experience, and the fan experience wanting to return and sign up for the newsletter, sign up for the will calls and the pre-sales, and how important that is. That's the way you tell the wrestlers, the performers, you appreciate them in work. Not only by buying the merchandise, the meet and greet. So good job there for TNA. I really hope, and we'll be here doing our watch along, lock and loaded here. We'll find out. We'll see which TNA guests we'll get in the coming weeks to come. We'll find out. Any ones that they allow us, they pretty much allow us. We'll love to talk to Leon Slater. Now, Leon Slater, speaking of Leon Slater, the match has been postponed or not being advertised for the AMC debut because Leon Slater is reportedly rumored. I believe PWI or FIFO, one of those gentlemen that reports the news, we mentioned that they're in talks of having Leon work in London on the European tour, teaming up with Javon Evans. We know that the Grande Americanos are two. Maybe you team them up, or even a 6-man with Javon, Leon, maybe AJ Styles, or maybe someone else. But Leon will be back for Genesis. So it looks like it's going to be for Friday Night SmackDown in London. We might see Javon and Leon Slater, the X Division champion. That's a big win for TNA. TNA is going to have AJ Styles. They're going to have Bully Ray on commentary. They have star power for you to watch in AMC. and then they'll lead you into Genesis with Leon Slater's X Division, but you're going to see him where you're like, wait a minute, he's going to be there, and you're going to be excited to see that. So I think they'll be fine with Leon working. And I know because it's WWE taking control of the talent. They're doing a nice swap here. Let's see how it works before we knock it for Leon Slater, what happens, because he's going to be involved in a triple threat with Moose and Cedric. For Genesis, we'll break down the Genesis prediction card and all that good stuff in a couple of days, with 24 hours from now, with Chris on the video. I want me and Chris to take care of that because we are the unofficial podcast of TNA. So we want to make sure we get that down. And we want to make sure that everyone knows that we are down, always been with TNA, not the fly-by-nights. And great. Welcome aboard if you're a new bandwagoner to TNA. Look, before all the hypes, before the switch, before all the clouts, we've always been covering it for years. So week in, week out. And we're not clout chasing. We just want to let you know. We've been here. We're not just here. We're not just got here. We've been here for a while with TNA. And that's all. And that's what we wanted. Our mission statement is for this TNA portion of our show here. Tonight, it's as I'm recording this, it's going to be Maximum Carnage for All Elite Wrestling. We're going to take a look there. Bandito, who won the Diamond Ring, will take on the one and only Maximum Jacob Freeman, and many more. So we'll be on that watch-alongs. With that said, I want to say thank you guys. I appreciate it. I want to thank our sponsor, Dude Wipes. We were sponsored today in this recording by Dude Wipes. Dude Wipes and the Sports Jedi Network. We're always wiping out the competition, keeping you fresh beyond the mat and in your pants. So I am BX Sports Jedi Chris, the owner, the founder of this channel, Sports Jedi Network, along with PGA Chris, Chef Dan, Rain, Miss Canary, my son Austin, and all of the rest of the Sports Jedi Network crew. We want to say thank you so much. Don't forget, please help us like, share, subscribe. Super chats or donations are always welcome. Always helps us with our channel, upgrade our equipment, our sounds. You know, this thing is not cheap. And every financial dollar that you could do, that you could find in your heart to donate, will go to a good cause on our channel, doing different things, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. I am BX Sports Jedi Kev. We want some feedback. Leave your comments in the video. We want to know what could we do to want to talk some more. Want to talk some more NWA. So forth. You want to do, what is it? Because we're thinking of doing a quick wrestling topic show around the evenings where you could call in and have our conversation with us while we do our live streams. So we're trying to set that up in 2026. Anything's on the table, old school wrestling, or what if, we had a great conversation again, I want to shout out the PUWF, the podcast of the unappreciative wrestling fans. We had a great conversation with Krishan Deshawn from the Misfit Nation, formerly from the Kayfabe Cartel. He used to cover wrestling, but now he does the Misfit Nation. We talked about what if the Montreal screw job never happened. Does Owen Hart follow Brett to WCW? Or what if he would have followed him to WCW? Or if there wasn't the screw job, it was still at WWE, does he put on the blue blazer outfit? And does he have his tragic demise? That was a big question of what if, and those are the type of topics we want to bring on our call show, on our round table. It's not going to be whoever, 2, maybe 3 tops, and plus, or just 2 or 1, and the callers, and your thoughts. So those are the kind of show. That's something that I want to come up. I'm pretty sure we're going to get copied and pasted by everyone else because I said it, but we're gonna get it done. We'll thank you again. We appreciate it. This is BX Sports Jedi Kev, man. Like I always say, guys, God bless you guys. May the sports be with you, and always get over in life. Don't let life pin you. Always kick out, and we'll see you next time. See ya.